If no man wants me, I will create my own.
My child. Your hands carry a special gift. Wear this on your creation, and he will live. But never remove this wristwatch, no matter what, or else. Or else what, Ma?
In a quiet village where everyone followed the same path, where boys became fishermen and girls became farmers' wives, there lived one girl who dared to be different. A girl who refused to follow the crowd. A girl who chose imagination over tradition. Her name was Chica, and this is the story of how the world laughed at her gift. Before that same gift changed her life forever, Chica was not like other girls in the village. While others woke up early to follow their mothers to the river, carrying pots on their head, laughing and gossiping along the dusty path, Chica would quietly slip away to her favorite spot under a large mango tree. There, she would sit alone. No noise, no pressure, just her and her thoughts. With a small stick, she would draw shapes in the sand, faces, animals, patterns nobody else could understand. Sometimes, she would pick up pieces of dry wood and begin to carve. Her hands moved slowly but with purpose, as if something inside her was guiding every cut. To her, it wasn't just drawing, it wasn't just carving, it was life. But to the villagers, it was nonsense. They didn't understand her, and what people don't understand, they often destroy with words. They laughed, they mocked her, they rejected her. See this one? One man shouted, pointing at her. You think drawing will feed you? The others burst into laughter. Chica lowered her head, but said not a thing. Another woman hissed loudly, making sure everyone heard her.
A girl that cannot even plant cassava. Stop playing and start working, my
Words
dear.
hit deep. In that village, a girl's value was simple: farm well, cook well, marry well. Anything outside that was failure. Even her own father had started losing patience. Every day he watched her choose wood and sand over responsibility. Chica, her father said angrily one evening, his voice heavy with disappointment, "You will stop this nonsense and go to the farm tomorrow." Chica looked at him. Her eyes were calm but filled with quiet pain. She didn't argue, but deep inside she had already made her choice. She would not stop because art was the only thing that made her feel alive. Days passed. The insults continued. The laughter grew louder, and slowly the loneliness began to settle in her heart. One evening, after a long day of mockery and harsh words, Chica walked far away from the village. She sat under her tree, the same tree that had become her only friend. Tears rolled down her face, not loud cries, just silent pain. The kind that stays in the chest, the kind nobody sees. For a long time, she said nothing. Then slowly, she wiped her tears. Her eyes changed from pain to determination. She reached for a piece of wood beside her. This time, she wasn't just carving randomly. This time, she had something in mind, something deep, something personal. She began to carve carefully, patiently, day after day, night after night. Even when others were sleeping, Chica stayed awake, working under the soft glow of the moon. Her fingers sometimes bled, her body grew tired, but she didn't stop because what she was creating mattered. Little by little, a shape began to form. A face, strong yet gentle. Eyes that looked alive, even though they were wood. A body tall, balanced, perfect. A man, not just any man, but the man she had always imagined in her heart. A man who would see her, understand her, accept her without judgment.
No man wants me, I will create my own.
There was no anger in her voice, just quiet hope. One night, something unusual happened. The air felt different. The wind moved slowly, as if it was watching. Chica was still working, adding the final touches to the wooden man. Suddenly, she felt a presence behind her. She froze. Her heart started beating fast. Slowly, she turned around. An old woman stood there. No footsteps, no sound, just there. Her eyes were deep, like she had seen many years. My child, the old woman said softly, her voice calm but powerful. Your hands carry a special gift. Chica was scared, very scared, but there was something in the woman's voice, something peaceful. She didn't run. The old woman smiled gently, then reached into her wrapper. She brought out a strange wristwatch. It didn't look normal. It had a faint glow, like it carried something alive inside it. She stretched it forward. Wear this on your creation, she said slowly, and he will live. Chica's breath caught. Her heart began to race. Was this real? Was this possible? Her hands trembled as she collected the watch. But, the old woman added, her voice suddenly serious, never remove the watch, no matter what. The words echoed, strong, final, important. Chica nodded slowly. She didn't fully understand what was about to happen, but deep inside she knew her life was standing at the edge of something powerful. She didn't know that this gift would come with a price, and that very soon, the same people who laughed at her would wish they never did. The night was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that makes your heart beat louder than normal. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a soft silver light over the village, over the tree, over Chica. She stood there, staring at the wooden man she had spent months, nights pouring her soul into. Her hands trembled, not from cold, but from fear and hope, real hope, the kind she had never felt before. Slowly, she looked at the wristwatch, the strange watch the old woman had given her. It glowed faintly, like it was breathing. Chica swallowed hard. What if this is not real? She whispered to herself. What if nothing happens? But something deep inside her told her to try carefully, very carefully. She stepped closer to the wooden man. Her fingers shook as she lifted his arm. The wood felt cold, still, lifeless. For a moment, she hesitated. Then she remembered the old woman's words. Your hands carry a special gift. She took a deep breath and gently placed the wristwatch on the wooden man's wrist. Then she stepped back, waiting, watching, hoping. For a moment, nothing happened. The night remained still. The trees didn't move. The air didn't change. Chica's heart slowly began to sink. Maybe it was all a lie, she whispered. Then suddenly, the wind blew, sharp, unexpected. The wooden man's fingers twitched. Chica froze. Her eyes widened. A crack sound echoed. Crack. The wood shifted, moved. The chest rose slightly. Breathe. Chica stumbled backward in shock. Her heart began to race faster, faster. Then the wooden man's eyes went alive, not empty, not carved, but alive. Who am I? The man asked slowly, his voice deep but confused. Chica covered her mouth. Tears filled her eyes instantly. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She looked at him like she was dreaming. You are mine, she said softly, her voice shaking. I made you. The man looked down at himself, then back at her. His eyes softened. A gentle smile appeared on his face. Not forced, not strange, but real. Then I will love you. Always, he said calmly. Those words, they went straight into Chica's heart. For the first time in her life, she felt chosen, accepted, loved, not mocked, not rejected, but loved. She ran forward and hugged him tightly, as if letting go would make him disappear. Tears of joy rolled down her cheeks. The same girl who cried alone under the tree was now smiling like the world had finally remembered her. The next morning, the village woke up to something they had never seen before. Chica walking beside a man, not just any man, a man so handsome, so calm, so different. People stopped what they were doing. Women paused mid-conversation. Men stared in confusion. Children whispered, who is that? Where did he come from? The girl they laughed at now had the most handsome man in the entire village. The shock spread like fire. Some people couldn't believe it. Others didn't like it, especially the women. How did she get him? The village girls whispered among themselves. This is not ordinary. Their eyes followed him. Their voices lowered. Their smiles were not friendly. Jealousy had entered the village and it was growing fast. But Chica, she didn't care about them. Not anymore. She was happy, truly happy. But even in her happiness, she remembered something important. The warning, never remove the watch. Every time she looked at his wrist, her heart would tighten a little. She guarded it carefully. She made sure it was always there because deep inside, she knew that watch was not ordinary. It was everything. Days passed. Their love grew stronger. They talked, they laughed, they walked together. For the first time, Chica was not alone. But happiness sometimes makes people forget to be careful, and slowly, she made a mistake, a dangerous mistake. She told someone, her best friend, Amaka. They sat together one afternoon under the same mango tree, the same tree where everything started. Amaka, I trust you, Chika said gently. Her voice was soft, open, without fear. Then slowly, she told her everything. The carving, the old woman, the wristwatch, the secret. Amaka listened quietly. She nodded. She even smiled. But that smile did not reach her eyes because inside her heart, something dark had already started growing. Jealousy, silent, dangerous, and waiting. The night felt heavy, cold, silent. But inside Amaka's heart, there was a storm. She lay on her mat staring at the roof of her small room, unable to sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw him, the handsome man, his smile, his calm voice, the way he looked at Chika with love. Amaka turned angrily on her side. Her chest tightened. How? She whispered bitterly. How can Chika have this kind of life? A handsome and caring man for a husband while I'm married to a drunkard who doesn't even know if I'm breathing or not? The jealousy inside her was growing, slowly, quietly, like poison. At first, she tried to ignore it, but the more she thought about Chika's happiness, the more hatred began to enter her heart. She remembered the secret, the watch, the magical watch, the source of everything, and suddenly an idea entered her mind, a terrible idea. I deserve that life too, Amaka muttered quietly to herself. Her voice no longer sounded like a friend. It sounded dangerous. The next morning, the village was busy as usual. Women were returning from the river. Men prepared their fishing nets. Children ran around laughing. But Amaka had only one thing on her mind, the Chika's man. She searched for him carefully until she finally found him sitting alone near the mango tree. The same tree where Chika once cried alone. The same tree where everything began. The man smiled politely when he saw Amaka approaching. He trusted her. After all, she was Chika's best friend. Amaka forced tears into her eyes. She held her chest dramatically, pretending to panic. Your wife is in danger, Amaka cried. She's trapped in the forest. Immediately, the man stood up. Fear filled his face. What happened? He asked quickly. Amaka looked away, pretending to cry harder. She went to gather firewood, Amaka lied, and something chased her deep into the forest. The man didn't hesitate, not even for 1 second, because he truly loved Chika, and hearing she was in danger was enough to make him forget everything else. Take me there, he said urgently. Amaka nodded quickly, but inside, she smiled. This was exactly what she wanted. Her trap had worked. The journey into the forest began. The deeper they walked, the quieter everything became. The cheerful sounds of the village slowly disappeared behind them. Only the sound of dry leaves crunching beneath their feet remained. The man kept looking around anxiously. Chika, he shouted. No answer. Again, Chika, still nothing. But Amaka kept walking further deeper, far away from the village, far away from help. Her eyes slowly changed. The fake sadness began disappearing and jealousy took its place. Meanwhile, back in the village, some women fetching water noticed something strange. They saw Amaka leading the man toward the forest, fast, secretively, and something about it didn't feel right. One woman frowned. Something is not right, she said slowly. Another woman nodded. She looked nervous. The women exchanged worried glances. Then suddenly one of them gasped. The watch! They remembered hearing whispers about the strange wristwatch. Fear spread among them. Without wasting time, they dropped their pots and hurried toward Chika's house. At that moment, Chika was peacefully arranging carved wooden pieces outside her home. For the first time in many years, her life felt calm, happy, complete. Then suddenly the women arrived breathlessly, their faces filled with panic. Your husband went into the forest with Amaka. Everything around Chika seemed to stop. The smile on her face disappeared instantly. Her hands froze. Her heart dropped heavily inside her chest. Amaka, she whispered weakly. Fear rushed through her body like cold water. Immediately, the old woman's warning echoed inside her head. Never remove the watch no matter what. Chika's breathing became shaky. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. She could feel it. Without saying another word, she ran fast, barefoot, through the dusty paths, past the huts, past the farm, straight toward the forest. Branches scratched her skin as she pushed through the bushes. Her heart pounded wildly. Every second felt dangerous. Every step felt late. Tears filled her eyes as fear consumed her mind. What if I'm too late? She cried while running. Deep inside, she already knew. This was no longer jealousy. It had become betrayal. And betrayal can Maka led him. The colder the air felt, the handsome man kept searching around nervously. Chika, he shouted again, but no answer came. Only only silence, the kind of silence that hides danger. Then suddenly Amaka stopped walking. Slowly, she turned around, and for the first time, the kindness on her face disappeared completely. Her eyes looked cold, different, dangerous. "She's not here," Amaka said coldly. The man frowned in confusion. "What do you mean?" Amaka stepped closer slowly, a wicked smile forming on her face. The man's expression changed. Something finally felt wrong, very wrong. "I brought you here," Amaka whispered, "for myself." Before the man could react, Amaka grabbed his wrist suddenly, fast, desperate, and then she pulled off the magical watch. Everything became silent. Even the wind stopped moving for one terrifying second. Nothing happened. Then slowly, the man looked down at his hands, confused, afraid. His skin began to harden. His fingers stiffened. Cracks slowly spread across his body like dry wood breaking apart. "What is happening to me?" he cried in fear. His voice was changing, becoming slower, heavier, lifeless. Amaka stepped back in shock. At first, she thought removing the watch would make him hers, but now she realized she had made a terrible mistake. The man stumbled weakly. His legs began turning into wood. His chest hardened. His eyes slowly lost life, and at that exact moment, branches snapped loudly behind them. Chika burst into the scene, breathing heavily. Sweat covered her face. Tears filled her eyes. The moment she saw the watch missing, her heart shattered. "No!" she screamed. She ran toward him desperately, but it was too late. The transformation had already begun. The man stretched his stiffening hand toward her, trying to reach her one last time. His voice had become weak, barely human anymore. "Why did you break the rule?" he whispered painfully. Then silence. His body became completely still. Wood again, nothing more. The same lifeless carving Chika had once created with her lonely hands, but this time there was no magic left inside it. Chika froze. For a second, she could not breathe. Then suddenly she collapsed to the ground, crying uncontrollably. She held the wooden figure tightly against her chest. Tears poured endlessly from her eyes. "No, no, please," she cried, but nothing happened. The magic was gone forever. The forest became painfully quiet. Only Chika's cries echoed through the trees. "Come back, please," she begged weakly. But the wooden figure remained cold and still. Amaka stood nearby, trembling. Her hand shook badly. Reality finally hit her. This was not jealousy anymore. She had destroyed a life and destroyed her friendship forever. Tears slowly filled Amaka's eyes too. Not from sadness alone, but from regret, heavy regret. "I didn't know," she whispered. But her words meant nothing now because some mistakes cannot be undone. Not long after the villagers finally arrived at the forest, they had followed Chika's footsteps. But the moment they saw her crying beside the wooden figure, everyone stopped. A shock covered their faces. Fear filled the air. Some women covered their mouths. Others began whispering prayers. Then their eyes turned toward Amaka, and anger exploded. The villagers rushed toward her immediately. "Why would you do this?" they shouted angrily. Amaka could not answer. She lowered her head in shame. The same jealousy she secretly fed inside her heart had now destroyed everything. The villagers dragged her away as she cried helplessly. But Chika remained there, still holding the wooden figure tightly, as if refusing to let go would somehow bring him back. But deep inside, she already knew the truth. He was gone forever. Days passed, then weeks. The village slowly returned to normal. But Chika never truly recovered. The cheerful light in her eyes disappeared. She stopped laughing, stopped walking around happily, stopped trusting people easily. Most days, she stayed alone beneath the mango tree, the same tree where her journey began. But one thing remained alive in her art. Even after losing everything, she still carved, still drew, still created beauty from pain. "I lost love," she whispered softly one evening, "but I still have my gift." And this time, nobody laughed at her anymore. Nobody mocked her talent. Nobody called her useless again, because now the villagers feared what the ones mocked and respected what the ones rejected. People began traveling from far villages just to see her work. Her carvings became famous. Her art carried emotion so deep it touched people's hearts. Some said her sculptures looked alive. Others believed magic still lived inside her hands. And slowly, Chika became known as the greatest artist the land had ever seen. One evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills, some villagers gathered near her home. They watched her quietly while she carved another wooden figure. An old man sighed deeply. We were wrong about her, he admitted softly. Others nodded in agreement. Finally, the girl they once mocked had earned their respect, but even with all the praise, Chica's heart still carried scars. Some pain never fully disappears. Sometimes, late at night, she would stare silently at the old wristwatch resting beside her carving tools, the same watch that once gave her happiness and took it away. Then quietly, almost like speaking to herself, "Not everyone who smiles with you truly loves you," she said softly. Her voice carried wisdom now, painful wisdom. And from that day forward, Chica became stronger, wiser, more careful. She still loved, still created, still dreamed, but she never trusted easily again because she had learned something many people learn too late. Jealousy can destroy love, and some rules exist to protect the things we cherish most.